When Counter-Strike 2 was released, the game became infested with cheaters very fast. The community was furious and the hate towards Valve was massive. Some thought that the game is cooked. Less intelligent ones told us to wait because Valve are cooking. Well, they cooked. They cooked until the point of no return, since the game is out for over a year, but the community is barely noticing any light in this infinite battle against cheaters. I said battle, but in reality it looks more like a case of domestic violence, where cheaters represent my drunk uncle. But what's even more surprising to me is how easily and fast everyone gave up on this. A year ago, if you made a Twitter post complaining about cheaters, you automatically were getting a lot of engagement, which means that the topic was important to a lot of people. People didn't always support you, since Valve criers are probably the most delusional people, but still the topic was sensitive and it used to matter. Matter for people who care about this game. And it doesn't matter if you're a Valve crier or a person with a functioning brain, we both want the same. We want our favorite game to get better and better. We want Premiere to be playable and interesting, and we obviously don't want cheaters in the game. I personally wouldn't even mind CS2 having a dedicated HVH community if that does not interfere with legit players in any way. But what do we have now? If you watched my video where I intentionally tried getting banned with cheats, you know that right now any 12-year-old can use his parents' credit card, purchase a cheat and get above 30,000 Premiere rating without any risks of getting banned. So I have decided to figure out why this is happening. What really is the issue here? Is it CS2 developers who are doing a bad job with the anti-cheat? Or is it the cheat developers being so ahead of Valve that they simply can't keep up? Of course, in order to get this information, I decided to contact the developers of cheats themselves and ask them those questions. I've managed to contact the developers of the #1 HVH cheat and #1 legit cheat on the market. They have a lot of interesting information for you, so let's figure out once and for all, will VAC ever be able to keep up with cheaters, or is the game cooked forever? Let's begin our investigation. I asked both of the developers the same questions, and sometimes their answers were similar to each other and sometimes they had their differences. The cheat names obviously won't be shown since I'm against cheating and this video is only made for educational research. We couldn't get into voice chat because I was very sick at the time, so I simply decided to write them questions and they will provide me the answers with text. And then I will do an AI voiceover of their responses. And in case you're worried that I got contacted by some no-namers or fake developers who don't know what they're talking about, let me assure you that this time I got the actual developers. The representative of the biggest HVA cheat has a nickname Vitamin. He gave the IRL interview for one of the biggest Russian channels called Cybershock, and I got in contact directly with him. The developer of the legit cheat is called Blick, and he's currently the best coder of legit cheats in the market. Now let's begin with the questions. Will VAC ever be able to keep up with cheat developers?
They need to radically change their approach to the development to the anti-cheat, to combine server and client-side anti-cheats, to develop and improve the current vectors of detection, add new ones. The main goal of anti-cheat isn't to detect as many cheaters as possible, but to ruin the experience for them. It's possible, they catch a lot of cheats currently. The question is not quite correct, they can't keep up with Valorant cheats either, there are cheaters there. In CS the entry threshold is lower, but things might change over time. Valve has very interesting priorities within the team, and cheats are clearly not the primary problem, but over the years it has become more important. In fact, it's simply a cat-and-mouse game. Antivirus and security system developers are creating new mechanisms to prevent attacks. Meanwhile, hackers are constantly looking for vulnerabilities, circumventing security, and coming up with new types of attacks, such as viruses, phishing, or DDoS attacks. This war never stops. Each side is constantly adapting. It stimulates the development of technology as new threats require new solutions. It is important that both sides constantly study and analyze each other's actions in order to remain competitive. Thus, the cat-and-mouse game is a kind of arms race in the digital sphere.
How quickly does your cheat get updated and how does it happen?
Our product gets an update within 1 day, sometimes 2 days, depending on how big is the update. The product gets automatically frozen since we fully study each update, looking for new traps after what happened in 2022. On average, if it's a minor update, it will take around 30 minutes to fully analyze it. It also depends on my schedule, since the updates usually go live at night. With minor updates, it's automatic, searching for patterns on the server and then auto-updates. With updates to the game engine, you need to go through everything and then it depends on the changes. It's simple. The more it depends on the game logic, the engine, etc., the more likely it is to break. It also depends on the cheat functionality. Blake doesn't have HVH functions and a bunch of exploits that are constantly breaking and need to be taken into account. So he does it faster.
How many people work on your cheat and how many people work on Valve's anti-cheat?
People who work on our CS2 product, me as the main developer of the product itself, and all of the security modules for it. Backend dev, who does all the fixes regarding the server part of the product. And, of course, the technical support agents. Currently we have 2 agents, who cover most of the tickets. Regarding the actual anti-cheat, based on all the anti-cheat changes that were implemented since CS2's release, it feels like only 1 or 2 people are working on it out of the whole company. What is a cheat? Just what's in the game, or including other modular stuff. We have a lot of modules in our project, and many people are responsible for each of them. As I've heard, in Valve around 5 to 10 people work on CS, and even that number may be lower given that all the stuff was redirected to Datalog. If you analyze its code, it gets very clear that it was sometimes written in frantic haste, as if they were squeezed by deadlines and crunches. Because the code is shit.
How often do users of your software get banned?
Chronologically, all the detects since the first release went as follows. Our project was released in 2015. The first detection happened in 2017, banning a part of our users. In 2018 the loader detect happened, which had also banned only a fraction of people. Somewhere between 2018 and 2022 there was some partial detect of one of the functions, but I can't remember the exact date. In 2022 there was a detection directed to all of the internal cheats, after which we completely changed out security strategy. Since the release of CS2 they had somewhat changed their approach and we probably shouldn't expect any more of any specific products to be detected. Instead we should expect bans for some individual functions. We don't include users who got banned through their own fault in this statistic, for example ones who were way too obvious, or using known detected features. It all depends on the user and the mode. There are functions that cause system triggers, and after some reports, you can get a timeout or even a ban. They can write a bunch of logic on the server side. Let me remind you that the files of the official Valve servers are inaccessible to anyone. They only leaked a couple of times and not in full. I can say for a fact that Valve has probably already detected most of the range functions, including various ways to circumvent these detectors. But some people can get banned quickly while others have been playing for months. But again, we present HVH functions which are detected in 99% of cases.
In your opinion, is it possible to release an anti-cheat that works very well and recognizes most basic function of cheats?
It is impossible to release a single product that will fully protect 100% of the game from cheaters. The anti-cheat should consist of the client part and the server part and should have a tight integration within the game. Attempts to implement just one separate part will not be successful. An example is the EAC, which does not have tight integration in, say, Apex Legends, which is why there are projects that use methods to replace game data and emulate the anti-cheat. Many might say that Vanguard, which is used in Valorant, is good at protecting the game from cheaters, but in fact, many people don't remember or know about just how problematic it was at the start. Since this anti-cheat is on driver level, its stable operation requires a very big team of highly qualified developers, who will study and check every single Windows update, since any incorrect action on their part can lead to system failure. And at the same time, Vanguard does not protect the game at 100% since there are new methods used by cheat developers every time. Valorant is an example of this. The entry threshold is much higher there, but users also have a ton of problems. Windows crashes, a bunch of programs don't work with anti-cheat, etc. It's a double-edged sword. Either do it like Vanguard and get so many problems, or do it like Valve is doing just now. Server-side detectors, based on information from the server that are very hard to understand. If they tighten it up, then this solution will be many times better than any client anti-cheat, because if there is something to look at on the client side, then you can understand and bypass it.
How do you rate the effectiveness of other popular anti-cheat systems compared to VAC?
Faceit and Vanguard will probably be the most effective. These are two mastodons in terms of cheat protection. They will probably be followed by BattlEye/EAC, but they are significantly worse than the first two. It's fine, I guess, at the BattlEye/EAC level. CS is just more popular than anything else. The solutions are unusual and not on the client side. which adds small problems in understanding compared to other anti-cheats. At least you can dig into something there and understand how it works. Everywhere else, the entry threshold is higher. The problems are all the same. The unique bypass and functionality sometimes lasts for a year or even more. And as long as it is not massively popular, it will live forever.
Are there cheats that are absolutely impossible to detect?
There can be no such products by definition. Yes, the technologies are emerging, thanks to which it becomes possible, for example, to implement cheats based on artificial intelligence, but the anti-cheat developers will also adapt to this. We live in such a world that we cannot have 100% protection from anything. Whether you're a developer of anti-cheats or antiviruses or whatever, you can try to minimize the detection status, but you won't be able to fully protect yourself. Obviously, yes, but the price for the quality of the functionality is corresponding to the probability of detection. The detection vectors do adjust, but they still remain. AI embots that interfere with the system as covertly as possible can already be identified by their behavior. Something is wrong with flicks, target recognition, some artifacts and patterns in behavior, etc. Given the development in this area, there are already rare examples of fully functional systems. I really don't know how battle ready they are, but they work well during tests. Plus, may become insanely good in the future. But at the moment, this is a solution with lots of delays and problems. The footage is analyzed on the second PC, and the aimbot is running according to LIM AI models. It is physically impossible to detect only by patterns of abnormal behavior based on stats, some kind of sensory disruptions and stuff. As much as it takes, there will be as many implementation decisions and fixes.
Can you tell us about a particularly complex or interesting case where you had to significantly change your approach to cheat development due to VAC innovations?
The most significant thing probably happened in 2022 when the developers decided to implement traps into the game itself, after which almost all the internal cheats died. Because of this, we had to change our approach to studying game updates in order to prevent such situations. They did a very simple thing, which turned out to be very effective against cheaters. By changing the logic of processing the basic commands, they caught almost all of the cheaters with internal cheats. Since it takes only a couple of lines of code, and it was very difficult to notice the changes with just a simple analysis. VAC itself is also a modular system. There is a useless client part that hasn't been touched for over 9,000 years, and it doesn't really represent anything. There are all sorts of interesting modules on Steam, for example, HWID, the amount of hours in the game, and similar statistics that scan for a lot of data, and it's unclear what Valve is doing with them. VAC Leaf has now recently appeared with VACnet, which is analyzing the game for abnormal interactions from the client to the server. The biggest fun has been happening for the last 6 months, starting with the high sensitivity bands. There were the very first tests of abnormal behavior from Valve.
Well, we have definitely received a lot of very interesting information, and after hearing what those cheat developers said, an interesting idea came to my mind. I think that implementing what I'm about to offer will fix the majority of cheating issues in the game. Not all of it, but I'd say at least around 80%. First of all, we need to have Overwatch back, but it has to be given to people with some good understanding of the game. For example, in CSGO, the requirements for Overwatch were Gold Nova 1 and 150 wins in competitive matchmaking, plus a minimum of 350 hours of playtime, which is a complete beginner level, and I don't think that it's how it should be. In my personal opinion, just like riding a motorcycle or driving a car, Overwatch is a privilege. It has to be earned. It should be accessible, but not for everyone. The second idea that in my opinion would fix cheating issue in CS2 is if Valve AntiCHE developers would simply buy the subscription to every famous counterstrike cheat and figure out how they work from within. They would simply get an inside information, and every time the cheat is updated, they would instantly be able to update the anti-cheat. Knowing your enemy, his mindset and strategy is a key factor of winning the war, and VAC developers can actually get this advantage over cheaters with no effort. At least that's how I think. Perhaps you have a different opinion that you can write down in a comment section. Anyways, I really appreciate you watching, God bless you, I'm out.